All right, so progressive overload is something that I apply in all aspects of my life. So it's not just the gym, it's also, school, health, habits, all these other things. And it's something that's allowed me to get, a good amount of results and success in these aspects of my life. But I think for most people, they don't apply it effectively in the various aspects of their life. And so that's what we're going to talk about in this video. We're going to talk about how you can apply progressive overload to get the results you want in whatever it is that you want. So whether that's building the physique in the gym, or whether that's, getting the grades in school, or getting the results in school, or getting the result that you want in some business. Applying progressive overload to these aspects of your life will help you achieve the things that you want to in them. So first, to start, what is progressive overload? Well, progressive overload is an idea from the gym. And it's the idea that when you go to the gym, you don't just go and pick up the heaviest weight that there is and try to bench press it for, 10 reps, okay? You don't do that because you're gonna hurt yourself and you're not gonna be able to do it. What you do in the gym is you progressively increase the amount of weight you lift each week. So one week you're lifting, 30-pound dumbbells. The next week you're lifting 40-pound dumbbells. The next week you're lifting 45 pounds, 50 pounds, 55 pounds, and so on and so on, right? And so that's progressive overload. Progressive overload is progressively overloading your muscles, okay? And so it's effective because you're gradually increasing the stimulus on your body. You're not just going and trying to do the hardest thing in the gym, lift the largest weight. You're just going and you're lifting a little bit more than you did last week. And so your muscles can grow, they can adapt. And, come 4 or 5 months from now, you're lifting double the weight that you lifted before. And now here's the thing, everybody knows this intuitively. Everybody knows you're not going to go to the gym and pick up, the biggest weight and be able to do this. Everybody knows you're not going to be able to, all of a sudden start running and, run a 3-minute pace or 3-minute kilometer pace, right? This is all intuitive to everybody, okay? But when you apply it to other aspects of your life, a lot of people actually forget about this. So maybe you're trying to improve your focus. Maybe you're trying to be able to study longer. Maybe you're trying to be able to study better. Maybe, you're trying to do all these different things, improve your habits, any of these things, okay? Let's say, all right, you're on this journey of trying to, right now your goal, you're trying to improve your grades, okay? And so you're motivated, you have this plan. Tomorrow, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to study for 6 hours when I get back from school. I'm going to study for even 4 hours when I get back from school, okay? And then you get back from school and you go to sit down to do the work and you only get like 2 hours done. And then you don't spend the rest of the evening as you had planned and you kind of get upset at yourself for not, completing or not doing the thing that you set out to do, not doing the thing that you planned or keeping that promise to yourself, okay? But here's the thing. Trying to go into an evening and all of a sudden trying to do, 4 hours of focused work is the equivalent of going and picking up a barbell with 2 plates on it, okay? Without having any experience of going to the gym before. So, with the gym example, you obviously understand that that's not a good idea. It's not a reasonable idea. And you wouldn't get upset at yourself if you weren't able to pick up that barbell and start benching it. But when it comes to school, when it comes to work, when it comes to other aspects of our life, it's so easy to forget that. It's so easy to forget that, hey, I need to progressively overload these things. I need to build up the habit. I need to build up the skill of focus. I need to build up the skill of work. People don't even view these things as skills. They view them as, inherent abilities. But all these other things in life, focus, discipline, the ability to work, all of these things are skills. And so like the skill of the gym, it's something that you can progressively overload. It's something that you can improve. It's just something that you need to improve over time. It's not something you can instantly come in and become a master at. So coming back to that school example, you need to have that same mindset. You can't go into this thinking you're going to be perfect. You're going to be a master. You're going to be able to come and sit down and study for 4 hours. You're going to be able to come and sit down and focus for 2 hours straight. These are things that you have not done before, okay? And so trying to go in and all of a sudden, think that you're going to be able to do them right away is silly. It's like picking up the barbell with 2 plates on it when you don't have the experience, okay? It's silly. It doesn't make sense to do. And so if you're setting your expectations so high, of course you're going to be setting yourself up for disappointment when you don't follow through on it because you are not capable of following through on it. So what you need to do instead is apply progressive overload, okay? Don't set unreasonable goals. Don't plan unreasonable things. Don't, set an unreasonable timetable for what you're going to do tomorrow if it's such a big contrast to what you're accustomed to, right? We need to build up the skill. So instead of, coming from nothing to all of a sudden you're trying to spend a whole evening studying, why don't you just try to, are you capable of even sitting down and fully focusing for 30 minutes, 20 minutes even, okay? I don't mean, most people can sit down and do work for 30 minutes, but are you capable of doing it, phone away, actually fully focusing on the task in front of you for that period of time, all right? Can you do that? Okay, if we can do that, all right, good. We try that, and then we step it up, and then we step it up, and we step it up. And eventually, after a period of time of progressively overloading the skill, now we can focus, now we can work or study or whatever you're working on for the period of time that you want to be able to do it for, okay? But the idea is that it's not instantaneous, right? It's a skill. It's something you need to develop over time, all right? And so the same thing comes with, other aspects of school. Maybe you're trying to, eliminate certain bad habits so that you can do better in school. So you have more time to go to the gym. So you have more time to study. So you have more time to see your friends, okay? Any of these things. And so maybe you're trying to, wane off social media or wane off video games or something, okay? What you could do is, delete all your video games or delete social media or any of these things. But chances are, if you do this, you're not going to be very successful. You might be for a day, you might be for 2 days, maybe a week, okay? But oftentimes you'll find your way back towards them, or you'll find something else to escape to, okay? And so a better thing to do, a better idea is to, progressively overload off the thing that you're trying to do. Instead of building up, the habit of studying, you're trying to build down the habit of always going on Instagram when you're a little bit discomfortable or something, uncomfortable, right? So maybe your screen time is like 8 hours a day, okay? Instead of saying, hey, let's try to get down to 2, all right? Why don't we first try to get down to 6, right? Why don't we start bringing, our screen time down to 6 hours, and then we can go down to 4, and then we can go down to 3, and then we can go down to 2, and then we're at a decent place, right? Once you're between 1 and 2 hours, you're probably at that place that you want to be at, okay? And so, again, we're not jumping from 8 to 2, we're progressively overloading down, or we're progressively underloading the amount of time you're spending on a screen, right? So apply the idea of progressive overload to the other aspects of your life, okay? Whether it's a habit you're trying to remove or it's a habit you're trying to build, do it like you would, increase weight in the gym. It's not instantaneous. It takes time. You're going to do it over a few weeks. You're going to do it over a few months. But if you've been at it for a long time, you should start to develop. You should start to see those results. Now, this brings me to another point, and that is to do with getting out of a slump, right? Because, oftentimes you develop these better habits. You're on a roll. Maybe you're going to the gym all the time. You're studying strong, or you're studying a lot. You're waking up early. You have all these good habits, okay? And then maybe exam time comes and you get really busy and you start slipping up, okay? Let's say before exams, you were really consistent with the habit of meditating. You woke up and every day you meditated for 10 minutes or 20 minutes, let's say, okay? Then exam time came and you were inconsistent. You got a few days here or there, a couple minutes here, a couple minutes there, okay? And after exams, you're trying to get back up to your 10, 20 minutes, wherever you were at before, okay? If you immediately try to get back to 20 minutes a day, you are no longer accustomed to that. You're no longer used to that, okay? And so what might happen is you're going to be trying to get 20 minutes a day. You're only going to get like 3 minutes, and then you're going to be disappointed. And then the same thing is going to happen the next day, and the next day, and the next day. And not only are you not getting back up to the result, not only are you not getting back up to the thing that you want to, which was that 10, 20 minutes a day, you're also going to be feeling bad about it because you're constantly your goals are up here and you're constantly not achieving them. You're always trying to get that 20 minutes, but you're only able to get 2 or 3. And so not only are you not going to be able to get back to that 20 minutes that you wanted to get back to, or the 10 minutes that you wanted to get back to, you're also going to feel bad about it anyways, because you have these expectations and you're not meeting them because you're trying to do something that you're not capable of doing yet. You're not accustomed to doing that, right? And so the better thing to do is, hey, we're trying to build this habit back up. It's been 3 weeks, okay? I know that we're going to be able to build this habit up back fast because we've done it before. We've built the habit before. Instead of trying to get right back in and hit that 20 minutes, all right? Let's just start slow. Let's start with 3 minutes for the first 3 days, okay? Then let's start with 5 minutes for the next 3 days, okay? And then the next 3 days, let's do 10 minutes. And the next 3 days, okay, we can probably get to that 20-minute goal, okay? And so within a week and a half, we're back to where we were at before the exams came in and disrupted everything, okay? And so you can see how using progressive overload to get out of a slump, can help us, right? Instead of trying to get right back up, okay, we have these high expectations, we're trying to get right back up to where we were at, we slowly build up to it, okay? And the added bonus is that you'll feel good about the progress you're making anyways, all right? Instead of feeling disappointed by the progress that you're not making, okay? And so this makes a lot of sense, right? Because the equivalent analogy is, let's say you get an injury at the gym and you're out for 2 or 3 weeks, just like the slump that you're in when you missed out on some habits for 2 or 3 weeks, okay? After that, 2 or 3 weeks of injury, okay, are you going to come back and lift the same weight that you were at before? Are you going to come back and, try to keep hitting that heavy weight that you got injured at 3 weeks ago? No, of course not. You're gonna lower the weight, okay? You're going to, progressively over the course of the next few weeks, build back up to where you were at before, okay? Because if you don't, right, if you aim to go right back at that heavy weight that you were at before, you're gonna not be able to do it. You're gonna be thinking, oh, like, why am I not back at my level that I was at? You're gonna be feeling bad about it. You're gonna be feeling bad about the progress that you're not making. And there's a much higher chance of you getting injured and just extending your injury, okay? And so the same thing is gonna apply with school, with life, whatever, the habit is that you're slipping up on, the studying or whatever it is, okay? If you come back at it with the expectation to be at the same level that you were at before, okay, you're gonna be disappointed when you cannot reach that goal. And that disappointment, those negative feelings are just going to extend the slump, just like how going back to the gym and trying to lift the same weight and getting injured extended the injury, right? So just be aware of this, okay? Be aware of this with school, with habits, okay? Even if it's a new habit, like we said earlier, or if it's something that you've, maybe slipped up on recently and you're trying to build back up. In both cases, progressive overload is what's going to help you get out of the slump that you're in, or it's going to help you build up the habit that you're trying to build up, or build up the skill that you're trying to build up, or study better, or focus better, or work better, or any of the things that you're trying to do in your life. And so when I put it like this, right, it seems so simple. You never expect someone to pick up a instrument and all of a sudden be able to play it perfectly without having any previous practice, right? But for some reason, when it comes to certain aspects of our life, when it comes to work maybe, you expect to be able to all of a sudden sit down and do 4 hours of work, to be able to focus for 4 hours when you haven't trained the skill of focus before, or even to be able to focus for 2 hours when you haven't trained the skill of focus before, right? In the case of the instrument, you surely wouldn't get upset at yourself for not being able to play a complex piece perfectly without any practice. But for whatever reason, we would get a little bit upset, a little bit disappointed with ourselves if we didn't carry through on, doing the work that we said we were going to do. And so I'm not saying we need to change how our mind works in that sense, right? Because of course, if we promised ourselves, if we've told ourselves that we want to do this thing and we don't follow through with it, of course there's a little bit of negative emotions there, and rightfully so, right? If I've promised myself that I was going to do this work, or if I promised myself I was going to go to the gym tomorrow or do this, and I didn't have a valid reason, well, I might rightfully feel bad about not, following through on what I said I was going to do. But I'm not saying there's an issue with that. I'm saying there's an issue with setting your expectation too high too early on, all right? I'm all for having, big goals, of being ambitious and trying to do these things, all right? But understand that things take time, and that you shouldn't, say, I'm gonna become a millionaire tonight. I'm gonna become, the strongest person in my gym by next week, okay? You would never say those things, all right? And so when you say, I'm going to be able to sit down and focus for 3 hours straight, okay? That's also a pretty unreasonable thing to do if you haven't developed the skill of focus, and you're only going to leave yourself disappointed. So if the goal is to develop your skill of focus, let's just bring it back a little bit. Let's say, hey, 20 minutes. Let's set this goal, okay? Set a timer. You're going to put your phone away, D&D, everything, all for this 20 minutes, okay? 20 minutes, okay? And if you can do that, okay, then we increase it from there, okay? We increase it slowly. We progressively overload in school and in life, just like you would in the gym. And so that's all for this video. I hope it has helped you.